we've spent the last 4 weeks talking about how to get ready to start hitting things with hammers, and today, finally, I get to hit a thing with a hammer! So what we are aiming for today is to round out the pauldron we've been working on. So my goal is to turn this into this. So what we're going to be doing is using a technique called dishing, sometimes called sinking. And what that is stretching out the metal. So we're basically inflating it like a balloon. And how we do that is we grab our auto body hammer with a nice round, smooth round face, and we are going to hit this from behind into a divot of some kind, a little dented something, and that can be any number of things. Some people like to use sandbags. Some people use dished out hunks of metal that are more solid than the one you're hitting. But most people use a hunk of wood, usually hammering into the end grain. So what I have here is a chunk of telephone pole. But any sizable chunk of wood will work. And the dish you hit it into doesn't need to be very big. So the dish needs to be a little bit bigger than the face of your hammer, and of a gentler angle, because you don't want a smooth curve going into a really sharp curve. That won't work. So this is just a hunk of 2x4. And I'm going to hammer into the end, using my hammer, to make a little dish, and I'm going to show you that this can work, even on just a piece of 2x4. And then I'm going to remember to put on hearing protection. Alright. So now, you can see I've just made a little tiny dish by hitting this, or by hitting my hammer, into the end grain of this 2x4. So now, I'm going to take my raw pauldron, and I'm going to hit it into that little divot. So I'm going to start in the middle and work my way outwards. That's usually the way you go. It's usually easiest. You're least likely to hit your knuckles and overstretch your metal. Sometimes it makes more sense to start at the edge and work in. That's usually if you want to lock in a shape, because if you put a rim around the edge, that will keep it from twisting and bending too much. But for this, I'm going to start in the middle and work outwards. You can see I'm starting, I have a little divot forming. There's the outside, there's the inside. And I could keep going on that piece of 2x4. Now that is a very small chunk of wood. It's much nicer to have a big surface to work with, and a big heavy chunk of wood if you can get one. The nice thing about having a big heavy stump to work with is, one, it doesn't move around, it doesn't walk away from me as I work. I can put a lot more force behind my hammer and work a lot faster. I can also have different divots. You can see I've got a shallow one here, a deeper one, and a deeper one. You'll see me hopping between them as I go. So I'm just going to do exactly the same thing here, just with a lot more force and a little bit more speed. I'm going to start in the middle, work to the edge, start in the middle, work to the edge. You can see that my edges are starting to do this little crinkly thing as I go. I don't want too much of that. A little bit of it is okay, but if I get up to the edge and they've really crinkled, then I'm going to end up like folding or crimping my metal, and that's not good. So that crimping is a sign that you're doing too much in one pass. So try to be a little bit more gentle, don't go as deep in the first pass, and do 2 or 3 passes. So you also notice as I'm getting towards this bottom edge, I'm not going to hit as hard. I'm just going to try to sort of bend it to keep it in line with the rest of the shape, but I want this to be a strong dome and then to sort of go straight at the bottom. So if I don't hit this so much, just sort of let it even out with the rest of it, that will help. So there's my first pass. It's not very exciting yet, but you can see I'm getting that dome shape. It's a little bit of a dish. I could keep candies in here now. And 2 or 3 more passes, and I'll get my depth, and then I'm going to be a lot more gentle on my last one to clean it up. Alright, so I finished my second pass. Looks not too bad. Another good pass, and I will get pretty close to what I'm aiming for here. So you can see I've got pretty much my shape now, but the surface is still a little rough, so I'm just tapping very gently all around to try to even this out. So there we go, one dished out pauldron. Next week, we're going to add a little flair to this guy.